The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. The freeloading ends today. My husband Nathan's voice was calm, measured, like he was discussing quarterly projections at work instead of dismantling 6 years of marriage. I was standing at our kitchen sink in our Chicago apartment, my hands still wet from washing dishes, the scent of garlic and rosemary from dinner hanging in the air. The plate I'd been holding slipped slightly in my grip before I caught it, my fingers tightening until my knuckles went white. "I just got promoted," he continued, adjusting his new suit jacket. "The fabric probably cost more than our weekly grocery budget. We need to separate our finances. I'm not carrying someone who isn't pulling their weight." The fluorescent light above the sink suddenly felt too bright. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears as I slowly set the plate on the drying rack. 6 years. 6 years of shared bills, shared dreams, shared everything. Reduced to one word. Freeloader. I turned to face him. This man I thought I knew, standing there like he'd just solved a complex problem. "What exactly do you mean?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. "Financial independence," Nathan said, like he was reading from a business proposal. "My money is mine. Your money is yours. We split expenses 50-50. Keep things fair. Fair." The word tasted bitter. "My name is Olivia. I'm 34 and a high school teacher. This is the story of how I made my husband see exactly what fair really costs." What Nathan didn't know, what he'd never bothered to learn, was that I wasn't just the teacher he liked to mention casually at work parties. During the day, yes, I taught English literature at a private school. But in the evenings and weekends, I ran a tutoring business that wealthy families paid premium rates for. College prep, executive function coaching, essay consulting. Some clients paid me $200 an hour to prepare their kids for elite universities. That money had been flowing quietly into our joint account for years. No fanfare, no announcements, just steady income that Nathan never thought to question. I also ran our entire household, every bill paid on time, every subscription tracked, every doctor's appointment scheduled, every repair coordinated when something broke. I made sure groceries appeared in the fridge and his suits came back from the dry cleaner. I remembered his mother's birthday every single year and bought the gifts she'd actually like. I planned every family gathering, every holiday meal, every social obligation that kept his life running smoothly. Nathan saw none of this. He only saw the results. Dinner on the table, lights on, clean clothes in his closet. To him, these things simply happened, like gravity, like weather. He had no idea they happened because I made them happen. While he focused on climbing the corporate ladder, I built the entire infrastructure that allowed him to climb. But when people stop seeing the system, they start believing the system is free. And Nathan's mother had been whispering in his ear for months, planting seeds. "You work so hard, sweetheart. You shouldn't have to support another adult." Patricia Foster never raised her voice, never accused me directly. She just kept repeating the same idea until Nathan believed it was his own. So when he walked into that kitchen and told me the freeloading ends today, he thought he was being brave. He thought he was taking control of his life. He had no idea he was about to lose control of everything. "Okay," I said simply. Nathan blinked. He'd been braced for tears, for guilt, for pleading. He wasn't ready for agreement. "Okay," he repeated. "Yes, separate accounts. We split everything 50-50. That's what you want, right?" Relief washed over his face. "Exactly." I turned back to the sink, resuming the dishes. What Nathan didn't know was that I'd already started counting. Every dollar I'd paid, every bill I'd covered, every invisible thing I'd carried while he climbed. In 3 weeks, he was going to regret every word he'd just said. But right now, he thought he'd won. And I let him believe it. 2 days later, we sat side by side in the downtown bank. The building had that hushed, polished atmosphere, soft lighting, clean desks, the kind of place designed to make money feel safe. A banker named Jennifer greeted us with a professional smile. "So you'd like to separate your joint account?" she asked. "Yes," Nathan answered immediately. I simply nodded. Jennifer typed for a moment. "And how would you like to divide the current balance?" Nathan turned to me, expecting me to suggest he take more, to step back the way I always had. "Half," I said. Nathan froze. "Half?" 50-50, I said evenly. "That's what fair means, right?" There was a long silence. Jennifer waited. Nathan stared at the screen like the numbers might rearrange themselves into something more favorable. "Fine," he finally said. Papers were printed, forms were signed, our shared financial life was about to become history. "And household expenses?" Jennifer added. "How will those be handled?" "We split them," Nathan said quickly. 50-50. I pulled out my phone. "Then we should track them." "Track them?" "A shared spreadsheet," I replied. "Every grocery run, every household item, every bill. We record it and settle at the end of the month." Nathan hesitated. This wasn't the kind of independence he'd imagined, but he nodded. I created the file right there. Date, item, cost, who paid. I shared it with Nathan. "A fresh start," I said. Nathan smiled, but something in his eyes had shifted. For the first time, he was beginning to sense that what he'd started wasn't a victory. It was a test, and he had no idea how badly he was going to fail it. When we returned home that evening, the changes began quietly. I didn't announce anything. I didn't argue. I simply stopped doing what I'd always done. The first night, I cooked dinner for myself. Nathan came home to an empty stove and a note. "Pasta's in the pot if you want some." He stared at the kitchen like it had betrayed him. He was used to plates appearing in front of him, used to meals being ready and warm. He served himself, couldn't find the Parmesan, reheated pasta that was already hot. The next morning, I made coffee only for myself. Nathan poured instant coffee into his mug and grimaced at the taste. Groceries were the real shock. I bought what I needed: vegetables, lean proteins, healthy portions. Nathan went shopping alone and came back with frozen pizzas, random snacks, and ingredients that didn't combine into actual meals. By the end of the week, he'd spent more on food than I spent in a month. The spreadsheet filled rapidly: paper towels, dish soap, laundry detergent, trash bags, toilet paper. Nathan had never noticed how many small things kept a home running. Now he was paying for half of all of them. He also had to clean. When he tried to do laundry, he dumped everything together. His white dress shirts came out gray. He stared at the washing machine like it had personally attacked him. "I didn't know you had to separate them," he said. I didn't smile. "I've been doing it for 6 years. Nathan grew exhausted, irritable, overwhelmed. Not because I was cruel, but because for the first time in his adult life, he was actually responsible for himself. And responsibility was heavier than he'd ever imagined. 3 weeks after the bank visit, Nathan reminded me that his sister was coming for dinner. "Blair and Marcus are driving in Sunday afternoon. You know how Blair likes things. Dinner needs to be ready at 5 p.m. I didn't look up from my laptop. "I'm not cooking." Nathan stared at me. "What do you mean you're not cooking?" "Your guests, your money, your responsibility," I said calmly. "This is ridiculous. You've always cooked before." "Now we have separate finances." Nathan didn't argue further. He went to the grocery store that evening for the first time in years. He was gone for hours. When he came back, he looked exhausted and confused. The bags were filled with random items: cold cuts, pre-made potato salad, a grocery store cake that was already dented. "How did you do this every week?" he asked. I simply shrugged. Sunday at 5 p.m., Blair walked in and immediately wrinkled her nose. "Where's the roast? I don't smell anything cooking." "We're doing something simple today," Nathan said. Blair looked at the table. Plastic containers. Store-bought food. Nothing hot. "What is this?" she demanded. I was sitting in the living room reading. Nathan swallowed hard. "Olivia and I have separate finances now. She's not cooking anymore." Blair turned to me. "What happened?" Nathan explained everything. The promotion, the freeloading comment, the 50-50 split. When he finished, Blair laughed, not kindly. "You and Mom told the woman who runs your entire life that she was a burden?" She shook her head. "That's insane. Marcus, we're leaving." She leaned down and kissed my cheek. "You deserve so much better." Nathan stood in the middle of the room, staring at the food he couldn't even properly prepare. For the first time, he saw how alone he'd made himself. After Blair left, I walked to my desk and brought back a folder. I placed it on the table between us. "Everything's in here," I said. 6 years of numbers." Nathan looked at the folder but didn't open it. I did. "My income," I began, teaching salary and tutoring business, almost $400,000 over 6 years. Nathan frowned. Housing, I continued. Rent, utilities, internet. The portion I paid beyond half. Over $48,000. His mouth opened slightly. Food, I said. Groceries, household supplies, gifts for your family, holidays, birthdays. Over $30,000. Your golf membership, too. I paused, letting that sink in. Cleaning, cooking, managing schedules, coordinating family events. 15 hours a week minimum. If I'd charged even the lowest rate, it would be nearly $200,000 more. The room went completely silent. Nathan looked smaller now, hunched in his chair. I didn't know, he whispered. You didn't look, I replied. He rubbed his face with both hands. What do you want from me? I closed the folder carefully. I want to be seen. For the first time since this began, Nathan understood that the woman he'd called a freeloader had been carrying his entire life on her back, and that weight had finally become unbearable. That night, sitting on the couch, Nathan's phone rang. His father, Richard. Nathan answered and put it on speaker without thinking. I heard everything, Richard said. Blair told me. Nathan didn't speak. You remember who planned every birthday, every holiday, every family visit? Richard continued. Silence. It was Olivia, he said. She made this family work, Nathan, not you. Nathan swallowed hard. You lived comfortably because your wife paid with her time and her money, Richard said, his voice stern. And you called that freeloading. Intent doesn't erase damage. You took without seeing. That's worse than taking with malice. Richard paused. If you want to keep this marriage, you need to learn to value what you have before it's completely gone. The call ended. Nathan sat on the couch, staring at his dark phone screen. For the first time, he wasn't angry or defensive. He was ashamed. Over the following week, Nathan didn't suddenly transform into a perfect husband. He became a confused, struggling one. He tried to do things I'd always done. He washed clothes and ruined half of them. He vacuumed and broke the attachment. He cooked eggs and burned them into the pan. I don't understand how you did all of this, he said one night, staring at a grocery list that somehow had 30 items on it. I had no choice, I answered without emotion. Nathan began to feel the full weight of his own existence. Grocery lists, cleaning schedules, bills, work obligations. Nothing felt simple anymore. He came home tired in a way he never had before. Not tired from meetings or presentations, but tired from the basic mechanics of living. One evening, he sat at the table and stared at the shared spreadsheet, scrolling through weeks of entries. This is all of it? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. He closed the laptop slowly. I thought I was carrying everything, but I wasn't carrying anything at all. I didn't respond. Nathan started writing a list that night, 3 pages long. Things I'd done, things he'd never noticed, things he'd taken for granted. He handed it to me the next morning, his eyes red-rimmed. I was wrong, he said. I was completely blind. I looked at the pages. I didn't forgive him, not yet. But for the first time, Nathan was finally learning what partnership actually meant. 6 months passed. The house didn't magically become perfect, but Nathan was genuinely different. He made his own grocery lists now. He learned which vegetables lasted and which spoiled fast. He cooked simple meals that slowly became decent. He washed clothes in separate loads. He cleaned without being asked. I no longer reminded him. I also no longer carried him. Nathan felt the difference every single day, the effort it took to keep a life running, the quiet work that had once been completely invisible to him. One evening, he sat down and sighed deeply. I still don't understand how you did this while also working full-time. Because someone had to, I replied. Nathan nodded slowly. For the first time in his life, he respected the weight I'd carried, not as an abstract idea, but as something he could finally feel in his bones. Patricia came over one Sunday afternoon. She didn't arrive with her usual confidence. She sat across from me and folded her hands carefully. I was wrong, she said. I waited. I judged you without knowing anything, Patricia continued. I told Nathan things I shouldn't have said. I made you sound small when you were holding everything together. I met her eyes. You did. Patricia swallowed. I'm sorry. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. Thank you for saying that, I replied. Nathan watched quietly from the doorway. For the first time, his mother wasn't controlling the story. I was. 3 months after Patricia's apology, Nathan stood in the kitchen one morning making coffee the right way, the way I'd been making it for 6 years. I watched him for a moment before speaking. We hadn't gone back to a joint account yet. We hadn't erased what happened, but we'd rebuilt something different, something more honest. I got offered another promotion, Nathan said, not looking at me. I looked up. I didn't say yes yet, he added quickly. I wanted to talk to you first. That was new. I don't want success if it costs us again, Nathan said. I don't want to climb if it means standing on you. I stepped closer. I was never against your ambition. I was against being invisible. Nathan nodded slowly. We can hire help. We can adjust schedules. We can actually share the load. That's what partnership means, I replied. We talked through every detail that night. The hours, the travel, what it would mean for us. 2 days later, Nathan accepted the position, but with conditions. No more than 50 hours a week, and he'd hired a housekeeping service to come twice weekly. Later that week, Nathan asked about combining our accounts again. Only if respect stays, I said. It will, he answered. I promise you, it will. A week later, we signed the paperwork at the bank to merge our accounts again. This time with both names on every statement, both of us fully aware of every dollar that flowed through our shared life. The marriage counselor we'd started seeing said it was a good sign. We still had work to do, but we were finally doing it together. Some stories end with someone walking away. This one ended with 2 people finally learning how to see each other, really see each other. For the first time in 6 years, the revenge wasn't leaving. The revenge was making him understand exactly what he'd had all along. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. 0 cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.